Hey guys, this is Dan with Gears and Gadgets. Thanks for tuning in. So I'm out here in a Polaris Xpedition. This is a two-seater that I've actually had for a little while. I've had a very busy schedule lately, so unfortunately haven't been able to play nearly as much as I would like. So let's get out here on the trail and put this thing through its paces so I can share with you guys what this thing is all about. Now, when I first saw the Xpedition, it was very apparent to me, as it had the enclosed cab, that it was going to be a machine really at the upper tier for, I guess, what I would call like family comfort. But then when I was given the opportunity to take this, which is a two-door side-by-side, this is actually the two-seater version, it became less clear to me what this machine would be for, this specific machine. Now again, looking at the Xpedition, the four-seater, fully enclosed cab with the climate controls, that was very clear to me what that was for. The Razor, very clear to me what that was for, and understanding those two different worlds. So this, I start looking at this specific spec machine, and I start thinking like, okay, well, how is this different from a General? Because it's kind of, in my opinion, you know, just first take on it, it's kind of the same thing. But is it? One of the things that I noticed is that the suspension on this thing, when compared to the General, is much better. Brakes, I feel like the brakes could be better. But suspension-wise, I feel like I'm able to throw this around far more than I was able to with the General. But ability to get on this thing and push, definitely there. Powertrain, again, not comparing like horsepower numbers, just going more off of like seat dyno. It's probably perfect. I hate saying stuff like that because nothing is perfect, but when you start looking at you know, power numbers, I know that everybody loves to compare torque and horsepower and all that stuff, but really it's more, what does it feel like when you start ripping on the throttle? Is it the appropriate power for the size of the machine? And I will say, I think power to weight ratio, this really is exactly what it needs to be. Now we got some washout here. It handles very well through this stuff. I'm not sure, sometimes the GoPro color-wise kind of washes out some of what this this material is, but I'll just stop and show you guys real quick. This stuff, perfect example. You see, it just took me like snow almost. This stuff is like really, really fine, basically like powdery stone. Very, very loose material here. It kind of just, when you hit certain spots, just takes you where it wants to take you. So it is important to have enough power in those kinds of situations to be able to pull yourself through it and not just kind of fall victim to wherever it wants to take you. Now, this Xpedition did have a tent on it. It is not on here now because it didn't fit in my garage, so I had to remove it just to be able to park it. And taking it on and off, while it's not super complicated, it is heavy and it's a process.
Smooth move, X-Lax.
So I started questioning, would I even put a tent on top of a side-by-side? And being honest with myself, no. I actually am in the process of getting a tent put up on top of my truck, and I think if you're going to be out in these kinds of environments, doing this kind of adventure type stuff, personally, I would rather go out and explore all day and go back to my base camp where I have a tent on my truck and all of my food and everything there. You know, sure, if you're going to go out and take incredibly long journeys out in the middle of nowhere, and it might be days before you get back to your vehicle, then yeah, having a tent would make all of the sense in the world, but I just don't think that I would do that. So I'd like to test these things really as I would use them. So we'll go up this hill here. This is not a small hill by no means. It's always hard to demonstrate on camera. This never looks like it really is ever. I mean, it's hard to really demonstrate this. So let's put the drone up. We are at 1,888 feet. Oh my God, there goes the drone controller. So that climb right there, we were at 1,888, and now we're at 1,917. I'm going to say this is like top 5 favorite spots of anywhere ever. Just trails for as far as you can see, and it is just so absolutely amazing to get a chance to come out here and experience this kind of stuff. It's these kinds of places that make you appreciate truly how small and truly insignificant we are on planet Earth. And it's the same kind of thing you get with motorcycles, that you get with side-by-sides, is the escape into perspective that you just do not get anywhere else. I guess it doesn't matter how you get out here. There's people that come out here on mountain bikes and, you know, do what they do. But this experience is truly just absolutely incredible. So this is, again, the 2-seater ADV 1000 Polaris Xpedition. Now this Fox suspension, these reservoir shocks, you can definitely tell that they are kind of in the sweet spot between what you would get with the Razor and the General. This is a very plush suspension. I haven't bottomed it out yet, and I've been doing a pretty good speed through some of these washed out areas, and that might be where you might get some of that bottoming out of a suspension that doesn't have enough travel. I do like the headlight design. You've got the integrated fog lamps up front with the rigids. You know, you've got the light bar up top, and of course the winch. In terms of powertrain, it just feels right. Now, what I do like about this setup is you have a drop-down tailgate. I've got my cooler, I've got my camera case. Obviously, you could have camping gear. You could have the tent up top. There's plenty of room in here for a bunch of stuff.
It's making my head spin how many activities we can do.
But getting into the overall cockpit, I do kind of like the information you get here. You can go through trip odometers. Oh, there's the engine temp, 214. RPMs, miles per hour, that's kind of redundant, odometer. So you can tell this machine right here actually has 117 miles on it, still pretty new. Gives you all the information you need, nothing you really don't. Now over here, this is where, I've said this in all of my Polaris videos, Indian, Razor, all of that, you cannot beat what you get here with the infotainment on Polaris. So here we have gauges, we can configure these many different ways. They're fully configurable. You can change layouts. Really, really nice. And however you want to see this information. You also have GPS, so you can actually map and track all of your location. Am I not getting GPS? We're having a solar flare right now.
Take a look. A strong solar storm could disrupt communications.
And it could be throwing off the GPS. Of course, we have our phone. I can pair and play music. Menus for everything else. Here's my music. Sounds respectable. We'll pause that before I get copyright strike. There are an awful lot of dead switches in here, like a lot of opportunity for expansion. You can see we've got 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive, and then they have a turf mode where just one tire spins, and that prevents from tearing up a lawn. We've got sport, standard, and comfort. I've been cruising in standard. Probably switch it over to sport. Winch, and that pretty much is the entire interior setup. Of course, shifter and an shit bar here, and plenty of storage. A nice little glove box. I've got my drone stored down here, so plenty of cup holders, storage space, center console. So the interiors of these machines are really, really nice places to be Seats are super comfortable. I certainly think you get what you pay for when it comes to these machines. Now these little areas, let's close this so I can actually get some audio. These whoops, it handles them very well. All this like washboardy type stuff here. Let's try to carry some speed. There's another flat spot right up here. So here we are, 50 miles an hour, 51. Very, very compliant. Not a problem. And then this corner here, you gotta slow down. This cliff edge is pretty wild. Alright. I love this area. Love this area. Yeah, this thing, you know, it carries speed fine. Now, the issue that I have with this is the brakes aren't as good as I would like them to be for carrying this kind of speed. It does a lot of like nose diving. I feel like it doesn't have enough rear bias to it, which isn't ideal, but you know, it's fine. So as I'm starting to get into these side-by-sides, I really start to question like which machine would theoretically be right for me. And this machine confused me. I thought it was kind of like the General. It wasn't until I got behind, you know, the wheel of it that I realized it's not. It's really its own beast. The General to me now, and when I rode it back then, felt like it was something that you could bring out here that was capable. Whoa! Came up on that super fast. And then I had the Razor, and that felt, obviously, it just wants to do everything. Woo! Oh, God, just floating. This just does it with ease. This is so much on a suspension. So now, my dilemma when looking at these machines is, you know, I'm sitting here blowing through this at 40 miles an hour with no problem. So now the dilemma for me is really between Xpedition and Razor. It really comes down to probably the Xpedition, because you've got more bed space here, and I love the fact that you can have, we're going to loop back around here, you can have all of the cargo space and also have an enclosed cab with air conditioning. I personally don't think that I need air conditioning in a machine like this because, I don't know, I enjoy motorcycles, I enjoy being exposed to the elements. It's kind of part of the experience for me. But my wife and daughter, probably not so much. They would probably much prefer this trip at 10 miles an hour and just getting out and seeing the sights in an enclosed cab with air conditioning, or in the wintertime, heat. So, man, this thing just, it does all of that, but then also, if I want to come out here and kind of hoon it up a little bit, it feels very compliant in its willingness to do that as well. I mean, this feels great. Make sure I'm not losing my camera gear behind me. Like right here, gas. Woo! My God. It just kind of floats over everything. I mean, I would stay in it there. I'm totally confident doing it, but I got to make sure no one's coming around that corner. Mainly being able to stop is the restriction. But other than that, You know, I feel like this thing wants to just keep kind of bombing through this terrain. I think what's really wild about this Xpedition is I think visibly it looks a lot taller. So I feel like there's like this weird mental hurdle to get over where you feel like it's going to be top heavy. But I don't think it is. As I'm getting through this stuff more, yeah, I mean, as I get into this thing, foot all the way to the floor, drop our visor, foot is all the way down, we're 50 miles an hour. Just got up to like 50 something, gotta slow down to hit this corner. Foot all the way to the floor, 35. It's certainly not the fastest machine in the world. It's not gonna keep up with a Razor if you're in a drag race, but it doesn't have to. And I would argue, maybe not. You really get into the conversation about like how much power is enough power. And I know we would all like to say you can never have too much, which I don't totally disagree with. But there's also a lot to be said about matching the power for the machine. And this feels like it's very well matched for what it is. And I'm not getting all that thrashed in here, you know? Like I don't have the best back in the world. And if this machine was causing me issues, you would certainly hear about it. Here we are coming back to that area where... Oh, that's a big drop. Whoa, there we go. That big climb I did coming up here, we're there. We're going to take the less steep, but probably more technical line down. Go to standard, go to comfort for this. Control our speed. This is like real washed out. I'll probably drag here. No, maybe not. Okay, we're good. Back to sport. Get a little air going. It is it's toasty out here. Even if you get real crazy on steering for, it's just, I don't know, it's a very compliant machine. Woo! Super sandy. Now that I've had a chance to really drive all three, the General, the Xpedition, and the Razor, it's a little more clear to me where this machine falls in. And I think, how you doing? I think that this machine here is probably what I would be looking to pick up in the 4-seater enclosed cab, but I'm not ready to say that yet until I get a chance to ride in that specific machine, because I would be interested to know dynamic-wise how that feels compared to the 4-seater Razor. Extending the wheelbase, I'm assuming, makes a significant enough of a change to have to really be able to test that out. But I would love to see that 4-door. I want to get my hands on it. That's very likely the route that I would go. Woo! Man, this thing just, it eats it up. It's just wild. This is the same trail I take all these machines on, and I feel like I'm getting a similar experience to the Razor with the comfort of the General. And I have to imagine that is what they were going for with the Xpedition. What I have learned with all these machines is that I personally am less interested in going out and just like slow rolling like that Jeep that just passed. They're just out doing a nice little adventure. I don't want to slow roll rock crawl. I want to just hammer down and blast through some terrain. There was the first time I bottomed out the suspension. There will be a day when you guys see a side-by-side entering my garage. For sure, no doubt, as of today, I would say it will be a 4-door Xpedition. And there you have it. So, thank you guys very much for tuning in. This has been an absolute blast, and I would say an eye-opening experience for me, getting out here and experiencing this machine. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button down below. Remember, likes go a long way to help support the channel. I will see you guys next time. This thing is legit.